Spirit of place, Lichfield, woven into history. Sitting close to the geographical centre of England, Lichfield is a distinctly provincial town. Middle England, but a place that keeps popping up in our history, always there, sometimes with a major role, often less important, but you suspect usually very satisfied that it's on the right side of history. In the 18th century, Dr. Samuel Johnson, a native of Lichfield, as well as a journalist, critic, high Anglican and devout Tory, described his hometown as a place offering genuine civilised life in an English provincial town. Now, the smug satisfaction inherent in Johnson's claim is still to be traced in Lichfield's neat, prosperous and bustling streets today, and it's a sort of justified self-satisfaction, at least to some extent. Lichfield has often been on the fringes of great events. It was close to the key Roman centres after the invasion, and of course the Roman fort of Leto Cetum was set up just a couple of miles away from the current city. And then it was near the heart of the great Anglo-Saxon kingdom of Mercia, and the wonderful Staffordshire hoard was dug up about 4 miles from the city. It was knocked about a lot in the English Civil War after choosing the wrong side, but found a restored monarch, Charles II, to chip in and rebuild the cathedral. Lichfield never developed major industries. All that muck and money was created a few miles south in the Black Country in Birmingham. But it still grew around its place. On Watling Street, the Roman road still being the main road from the south to the northwestern Ireland for centuries after they left, and Lichfield became a way station for the carts and carriages along that road. And we mustn't forget the rich clergy of the cathedral and its school, which provided trade for the shops and work in service for the townspeople. In fact, it is that magnificent three-spired Gothic cathedral with 160 stone figures crawling over almost every outside vertical surface, like ants on a sugar lump, which has long been the core of Lichfield's sense of well-being and a lot of its prosperity. What we see now is a Victorian restoration of the rebuilding that followed the Civil War. According to the Venerable Bede, Bishop Chad moved his bishopric to Lichfield in 669, and the town grew as the ecclesiastical centre for the Kingdom of Mercia. And it was bishops who ruled the city of Lichfield, especially those who took over following the Norman conquest and were the bishops militant of the Norman aristocracy. Soon after William the Conqueror's victory, and with the new Norman cathedral, Bishop Clinton fortified the cathedral close and laid out the town with that ladder-shaped street pattern that's still visible. By 1340, that cathedral had come down and been replaced by the Gothic masterpiece we see today. Mind you, it was another couple of centuries before the prosperous burghers of Lichfield got a say in the running of the place, initially through their trade guilds. And the reason the city suffered in the Civil War between King and Parliament was that it had such a strongly fortified cathedral close. It was held by the Royalists, and the eventual victory of the Republican parliamentarians necessitated bombardment by their guns, which completely brought down the building's central spire and made one hell of a mess. As we say, Charles II chipped in once he was back on the throne, and the tower was rebuilt along with an effigy of the king, ironically, who was famous more for his parties than his piety. But as the great steamroller of the Industrial Revolution began to gather pace through the 18th century, Lichfield remained almost untouched and became at least according to that local lad made good Samuel Johnson, the city of philosophers. It was his own presence and that of David Garrick, the actor, the poet Anna Seward, and the physician and natural philosopher Erasmus Darwin, which created the heart, apparently, of what became known as the Midlands Enlightenment. The official history of the cathedral claims that here was an interesting dynamic with religion and scientific advancement creatively interrelated, alongside music, literature and culture, with Lichfield regarded as a major centre of enlightenment within Europe. Modesty, it seems, was the city's only failing at that time. But that tradition of giving priority to culture and science carried through the Victorian era with its innovative improvements to the city's water supply and street lighting, and with a new steam pumping station taking clean water from there to the Black Country a few miles to the south, and that clean water saving thousands of lives in the mess and stink of the Black Country. In more recent times, the city's population has tripled in the past 60 years, as it has become a dormitory for the West Midland conurbation, attracting those earning enough in Birmingham and Wolverhampton not to have to live there. It remains a civilised place with 3 Michelin-starred restaurants and more than 60 listed buildings, many from the Restoration period, as well as a truly eclectic mix of shops. The new shopping centre is sadly now a bit marginalised as big name after big name failed and dropped out of the modern purpose-built units, particularly during COVID. But the streets originally created by a Norman bishop thrive, with lovely little cafes and restaurants, quality original shops, and lots of charity shops that somehow manage to have a certain style and fit well with the modern ethic of recycling and reusing. And COVID has created a street culture with lots of outdoor seating and open space given up to pedestrians. And you have to hope that it will stay that way, because it enhances the high street, even when the cold winds blow. And Lichfield continues to weave itself through our history, and it retains its charms. It's still dominated by that massive cathedral on the hillside above the town, and that same cathedral still brings in lots and lots of tourists and their money. The spirit of Lichfield remains one of polite curiosity, enthusiasm for both history and novelty, and it's the town with the self-confidence to charm its visitors. I rather like it.